Hi, my name is Eric and welcome to my shop. I've been thinking for a while now to make this video about this Radial Armsaw that I've been working on for quite some time. This specific machine is a Wadkin made in the 50s. It's the model is called BRA, round version, 14-inch blade, which would equal 350 millimeter. This version does have the big motor of, I think it's 3.7 kilowatts. It's available with a 2.2 kilowatt motor as well. It weighs about 200 kilograms. The size of the table like this is about 140 centimeters. I think it's 134 centimeters wide. The depth of the cutting area is 630 millimeters, so that equals the maximum ripping capacity of this saw. So as far as you can extend it here, it would cut efficiently to 630 millimeters, and it is possible to reconfigure this fence if you have a thinner fence to have it cutting up to 690 millimeters, so that is absolutely ridiculous. So I made this Frank Howarth style. I know he didn't make the original, but he made the good version of this one, the first one I've seen at least. This fence where the dust collection is built in. This fence does, however, have a another sort of style, since here is a bottom piece that connects both sides, so they are not separate, which made this fence much easier to adjust and to maintain it straight, the leading edge straight of it. So that was I made another version of this one first, that where these halves were separate, but it never really worked. It was hard to adjust and I didn't really like it, so I made this version instead, and I have a whole separate movie about that. I just haven't published it yet, but I will. Also, this fence is adjustable, so I can release this knob here and push each side a few millimeters in each direction, and that will make it I can fine tune it in order to become very, very accurate, having a perpendicular angle between the fence and the blade. Now I do have an emergency stop, so this device is shut down. This is an engine protection device which ensures that you cannot overload the engine. So this one does have if I ever were to overload the engine, this device would take care of that before the engine blows. Also behind here, incorporated with the dust collection, is this shroud, which is releasable. It does attach with magnets, and here is the dust collection hose attached. In order to change the blade, pull this one forward a bit, and of course check that any power is off. It is. There's a screw or bolt, I assume. Here it is. Just going to release. There's the entire assembly will pop off. And here is the blade. Now, in order to release the blade, there's the nut. Just put this one here. This nut is made out of brass, so you gotta be a bit careful. The idea behind that is that it shouldn't be able to damage the threads on the engine, rod. Now, this is an inch 25.4 millimeter diameter on that one. So, and you just and this is not a righty tighty. This is a lefty tighty, righty loosey. So, in order to like so, and off it goes. Pretty simple. Now, Radial Armsaws does have a reputation of not being very safe, and I could agree with that to some point, but correctly used it is as safe as any, or unsafe as any other saw. I would prefer to use this style of saws only for straight cuts. I would never try to tilt the head or modify the axis of anything here. It is possible to do any of that with this machine, but I would never do it. So I would use this one for straight cuts only. I do not let the arm tilt or pivot in any way other than in this 90 degree position. If I am to do miters, I have jigs for such things that I make. Pretty simple, and that is also why I do have this slotted table, so that I can attach jigs and also hold it down to never endanger myself when performing a cut. Traditional way of making a miter cut with a saw like this would be that you tilt the arm 45 degrees or whatever, and there is a block here that you can release and sort of push it to the side. Now that would sort of mess up my fence design. Of course it's doable, it would just cut another slot back here and it would all be fine. This device does also, this saw does also support any traditional radial arm saw moves or configurations. So what that would mean is that you can rotate this saw head 90 degrees. You just release this lever and it will be able to rotate for up. Well, actually, I think it can rotate up to 360 degrees. But typically, you would just rotate it 90 degrees, and you can use it like a sort of inversed table saw. It can also tilt the blade or this assembly up to 90 degrees. So, which would mean that this disc would. Which means that this disc would hang like this, which could be practical to use. Well, it's basically a spindle molder, except made out of death, because it's not a spindle molder, so I wouldn't recommend using that. And you can of course combine this by tilting or pushing this, shifting the head like 22.5 degrees. And tilting at 22.5 degrees, and you can perform very complex compound cuts in one move. So I mean, it's very useful, very powerful, but I wouldn't recommend anyone doing it. But for the sake of demonstration, here is the locking mechanism. Now this mechanism is always locked here. It cannot unlock unless you pull this one entire assembly forward. Now I can push this one here, so there's a slot kit out here that will release it here. So I can push this one like this. Now, of course, I've tightened this so much so that it will not loose anyway. Now I can rotate this assembly, and that would sort of shift this saw head from this to this, or up to let's say 90 degrees. If we would like to rotate the cutting disc this way, we do that is by releasing this lever. Here is a positioning jig. There's also a degree scale here. I would first have to lift up the column a bit, which I can do by pulling a lever there or using a handle. Now if I am to release this, there you go, it is loose like so, and I can rotate it as much as I like. Actually, I'm not going to show more than that now because this is not the way that I'm using this. So, like so, and so. Now it's perfect 90 degrees again. Figured I could demonstrate how I would go on by using one of these jigs. So So in order to demonstrate how capable and precise this machine is for making straight cuts, I'm going to demonstrate this. I haven't calibrated this fence in a while, so it might be a bit off. So this is 18 or 19 millimeter particle board coated with melamine, so we get a good view of how it cuts such materials as well. I'm going to use the two-cut method, which is more than enough to measure how precise a machine like this is. So it seems to be off by about 1 millimeter here. Let's see if it is the same on this side. Yep, so this side should be a bit more narrow than this side. So that would measure 26.4 or 264, and this is 263 or 262, so we're off by about 1 millimeter, which means that probably when I was fiddling around with this one earlier, I set it off by a small amount. In order to fix that, I can push this fence a bit. Let's see. So it is. And this does only need to be adjusted by very, very tiny amounts. Okay, so now what we have here is 259, and over here we have 259. So this should be pretty accurate now. Yep. And my last considerations regarding a machine like this is it's very powerful. This particular model has a great capacity on up to 690 millimeters, which is great. It's great for having to cut boards with. It's great to have a machine set up to cut very precise 90-degree cuts. It is also very easy to make jigs with a board like this, where you have these T-slots. And I've been using that quite a lot, so I really enjoy that feature. I would recommend anyone having a saw like this to do that. It's easy to maintain and everything, and it's fairly safe to use, I should say. Properly used, so. Other than that, thanks for watching, and see you next time.
Det var inte till det här.
Upp. Den ska vara så.
Han bara, det kan lugna ner på mig här.
Precis.